Hello, my name is Finn Hastings and I'm joining you from Broadcast Studio at GBTA APAC Conference 2026 here in Singapore. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio today by Julien Delerue, founder and CEO at 1000Meetings. Julien, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, beyond cost savings, how should companies evaluate the real performance of their meetings and events programs?
So we see a lot of companies nowadays in the meetings and events world that are not focusing solely anymore on just the cost savings and the budget control. I think a lot of companies are looking at meetings in a whole different new way. What is the ROI usually? That's one of the key questions that a lot of corporates would be asking. When it comes to internal meetings, what is the engagement of the internal participants, the internal attendees? If it goes to external meetings, what would be the sales? What would be the impact on the company at the end of the day? So that's a lot of questions that meeting planners, organizations are looking at just way beyond the cost control itself. Another key questions that is coming recently, that's around sustainability. What is the environmental impact of the company, of the meeting at the end of the day? And I think with us working in APAC markets, so that's a lot of different countries, a lot of different markets, very various culture, very different ways to work, very fragmented markets. It can be very difficult to measure the environmental impact of a meeting or a series of meetings because the way to calculate it can be very different from one country to the other. So I think all in one of the key challenges when it comes to meetings and events would be not only to define the key metric, but to be able to measure it in a very consistent manner.
Thank you. Where do you see the biggest inefficiencies today in how meetings are sourced and executed across Asia?
This one is really a big question. And I think especially in Asia, we see quite a few inefficiencies, and these efficiencies all rotate around fragmentation. The first thing that comes in mind very immediately would be manual sourcing. A lot of companies are running their sourcing just on their own, manually, with emails, phone calls, spreadsheets, which is totally inefficient in a lot of ways and leads to duplicate work, leads to a very limited visibility across the company. And speaking of that, visibility would be the second key inefficiency that we identify nowadays in Asia. I'll take an example. We see some clients, two departments from the same company organizing a meeting pretty much at the same time in the same location, and two departments inquiring for the same hotel without knowing that each other are doing that. The key problem here is we could optimize the whole process rather than having two people or two stakeholders to inquire at the same time for the same property. We could gain some leverage. We could get some leverage on the cost structure of the whole event, or even get better availability from the venue that is inquired. So I think altogether, the manual sourcing plus the visibility are two key inefficiencies in this region.
Thank you. And finally, what outcomes are leading companies achieving when they get their meeting strategy right?
Well, that's a journey, I would say. When it comes to organizing meetings and events and optimizing the whole process for an organization, this is a journey that comes with several steps. The step number one would be to be able to centralize everything, to get visibility across the spending. Basically, what it means, either it's to use technology to be able to measure things, because things that are not measured are very difficult to control, or it could be to use third-party companies, or even to empower the key stakeholders in the company. By doing that, companies usually are able to start to get data and to track information. And then the second layer would be to get this information and then moving to the consolidation of this information. Once you have information consolidated, and trust me or not, a lot of companies are not getting to the level number 3. So one of the key things at the level number 3 is to be able, with the data that we are getting from the clients, or from the meeting stakeholders to get back to the preferred suppliers and to tell them, okay, this is the kind of meetings, this is the kind of volume that I have. Let's discuss to negotiate better terms and conditions. So that would be altogether the kind of strategies that we see that is working very well in this market, in APAC market.
Thank you. Julien Delerue, founder and CEO at 1000Meetings. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
My name is Fintan Hastings. You've been watching Broadcast Studio at GBTA APAC Conference 2026. Thank you for joining us.